All right.
All right. Hello, everyone. And our project is KubeIO deployments as a service using Kubernetes. Our project advisor is Professor Eric Manuska, and our team members is Ryan Pham, Ryan Ogre, Treek Nguyen, and Johnny Nguyen. So the main purpose of our project is to allow users to deploy Docker containers to having access to their GitHub repositories and looking for any Docker or Docker composed YAML files. A container is basically a bundle of code and its dependencies. And we automate this whole deployment process and ensure that if there's any problems, such as any memory leaks or any failures with the deployments, uh, we will have, or the users won't have to worry about anything as we will have them automatically rebooted. And yeah, and everything will be hosted on the Raspberry Pi cluster, which is basically going to act as our server. And the overall goal of our project is to hide away or abstract the complexities of running and scaling Docker containers.
Ryan Ogre will be working on the web development and the GitHub bot, while I myself, Ryan Pham, will be working on the actual like Raspberry Pi cluster. Treek will be working on GitHub, implementing GitHub Actions and monitoring cluster performance using metrics. And then Johnny will also be focusing on the web development. So as for constraints, there are many constraints, right? Such as the fact that hardware and software included, right? Hardware isn't cheap, and that hosting a database and server, typically the cost really adds up, whether it's like offshore or on-site, it's expensive either way. The interface must be simple for the user to use. It can't be that complicated to the point where, oh, a user can't really navigate it. It should just be easy and simple. And we must enforce data security and privacy. That's one of the most important factors, and we need to focus on having the utmost security and privacy for our users. And for the trade-offs, we can't just make our service free, right? We need to charge the users who use our services frequently, but this ends up allowing us to like offset all the server hardware costs, software costs, and all of that. And another trade-off is that we also, as I said before, we need to also use encryption for data security so that we can be like trusted with important user data as we're running multiple containers and all that stuff. And that could also be like handling user data. So we need to also uh, enforce security, data security in general. So
Right. So we have a couple of designs for components in our systems. So the first thing is like in the middle, we have the cluster diagram, which like uh for Raspberry Pis with a couple of storage, and we have four Raspberry 4 running running with Kubernetes and Ubuntu server. And then here's like the end-to-end system architecture where you have the user when they deploy the application through web UI. Uh, there's going to be a CI/CD pipeline that would inject it into their repository through a GitHub bot, and then that CI/CD pipeline will trigger a runner on our cluster that would build a Docker image and deploy it onto the cluster. Here's we have the monitoring system, which has Prometheus and Grafana to visualize the metrics. And then from the monitoring system, we would log it out to the dashboard the user can see. And here's like the use cases that user login, and then they need to allow our GitHub application, which is like a bot, and then the server would do that request. Then the user select the repository that the server will have a runner that will set up, and then build deploy the repository through our CI/CD pipeline. And then when the user requests to reboot the project, the server simply delete the parts on the cluster. And here's like our mockup design. Uh, pretty simple. We have dashboard project support and settings. And then here's like we show all the projects that's like running uh like active or inactive projects. Here's with the database ER diagram, which has the repository, the user, and the project entity.
All right, so this is our schedule. As you can see, it's being modeled by a Gantt chart. We have this green line here, which represents essentially what tasks we've completed and which ones we still have to complete. The tasks to the left are the ones we haven't, or we've already completed. Meanwhile, the ones to the right are the ones we still have to do. The kind of general theme is, for the most part, we've already done most of the um, kind of system design and requirements, stuff like that, use cases, whereas we still have to do a lot of the code development and implementations.